Day 19, forgotten. So Jesus, he wants us to have an eternal perspective. So when my grandma was nearing the end of her life, she bought these incredible gifts for the people closest to her. Mine was this Build-A-Bear where you could press a button on the hand and the bear would say something in her voice. So every time I pressed the button on the hand of this stuffed bear, her voice would emerge with this inside joke that never ceases to just make me laugh. It was a sweet gift. It's so thoughtful. And it's actually really surreal for me, for my own kids to be playing with it, to be pressing the button and to hearing the sound of their great grandmother's voice, a woman they'll never meet this side of heaven. Now, my grandma got it for me because she didn't want to be forgotten. She wanted to live beyond her death. She wanted to be in relationship with me and me to be in relationship with her past her own death. It's a fear that I believe everyone has to dance with at one point or another. For someone like Paul, this fear, it grows with age. He's losing his influence in life. His kids do less and less what he asks of them. He's being pushed aside professionally as he gets older, and fewer people seem to be asking his life. So his fear of being forgotten just continues to grow and grow and grow. And his attempt to control and his grip on life just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. For someone like Shauna, she goes through her days feeling completely unseen. As a mom with 4 kids, she struggles to feel like a real person. Now, how much she tries or how much value she offers to her family, no one seems to notice her. No one seems to hear her, understand her, or see her. She feels surrounded constantly, yet completely forgotten and unseen. And then there's somebody like Dave. Dave, he's made so many mistakes in his life. He's burned so many bridges. He goes through life day by day alone. He walks the streets of the city he lives in just hoping someone anywhere would recognize him and see him and smile at him. At least then he would know that he was alive, that he wasn't a ghost. He feels he walks through the earth already forgotten. Nobody, no matter who they are, wants to feel disposable or invisible, and no one wants to be forgotten. Out of that fear, out of a death anxiety that is petrified of being forever lost and forgotten and seemingly meaningless in the context of eternity, that is where so much of our pain emerges. It's why we tolerate toxic relationships. It's why we don't speak the truth when the truth needs to be spoken. It's why we often turn to substances and other distractions to numb our emotions and to numb the anxiety of being alone and forgotten and irrelevant. It's why we seek love and affection in ways that only leave us empty in the end, but keep going back to it over and over again. It's why so many people try to be famous or powerful or have their names written in the history books or something like that. We're terrified that death is the moment of perpetual loneliness, and that sooner or later, all of history is going to forget us as if we never actually mattered. But for Jesus, death was never the end. For Jesus, it was the beginning. For Jesus, forgetting is impossible. For Jesus, he knows that we are never alone. At the moment of our death, there is no moment between life and death in which we are alone. Jesus is there. There's this one scene in the scriptures where the Sadducees, they come to challenge Jesus and they try to catch him in a trap so that they could undermine his authority and hold on to their own and really just cut out Jesus' legs from underneath him. They went to what is their bread and butter. They didn't believe in the resurrection. So they challenged him with this ridiculous story about a wife who marries 7 brothers, all of whom die one after the other. And so they asked this question, okay, so if she married all 7 guys, who's she married to in heaven? Trying to make the idea of heaven seem illogical and absurd. And part of Jesus' answer was to remind the Sadducees that God is God of the living, not God of the dead. Jesus was trying to offer them and us in that context an eternal perspective on death, which is that God is God of the living, that on the other side of death isn't exclusively forgotten, abandonment, black emptiness. On the other side of death is eternity, is life in eternity. And you cannot be forgotten if you never actually die. And with Jesus, you'll never die. You are an eternal being. As long as you stick with Jesus, love itself will sustain you, and you will enter into love itself, and you will never, ever be forgotten. So, from the fear of being forgotten and all the coping mechanisms that go along with that fear, deliver me, Jesus.